Welcome to the Wildcast podcast, coming to you from Wildcast Studios with your hosts Adam Lund and Jeremy Boucher.
Oh, welcome to Wildcast Studios, to the Wildcast podcast, your unofficial voice for all things Moncton Wildcats, presented by Alpha's Appliance Solution. Right now, they got the New Year Kitchen Suite Savings event until tonight. When you save $150 when you purchase 2 qualifying Maytag or Whirlpool Major Kitchen Appliances, save $300 when you purchase 3 or more. As always, fan listeners, I am your host, Adam Lund, and I am joined by the writer for Rocket Sports for the QMJHL via the Hockey News, and your favorite co-hoster. Maybe don't take his NFL predictions, Mr. Jeremy Boucher. The Browns disappointed you, like probably so many. Have you changed teams or just you're done?
Yeah, Ray Jennings didn't get the job done, Couldn't run the ball. Fonte Mack couldn't stop the ball.
No, exactly.
Brian Drew just couldn't get the job done at quarterback either.
No,
I'm done. I'm all out. My football attention will now be focused to Usher.
And the halftime show.
That's right.
Yeah. So that'll be the quick question, or that'll be a question in this intro as we get closer to the Super Bowl, February 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Big news in New England, though. Sir Bill is out. Gerard Mayo is in, which from what I heard and read during this time on the old Twitter, I will not call it that stupid name, Elon. He was called Mini Bill or Little Bill or whatever they called him. He was just a Bill Belichick type clone. And your thoughts on that?
For me, Bill Belichick should have been gone 5 years ago. So this is welcome news for me. He just wasn't the same coach without Mr. Brady. So I thought I was very happy. And Gerard Mayo is a great hire. He knows the organization, been with them for a while. Mm-hmm. And I think he's going to do great. And, as long as Belichick has, doesn't touch the draft at all, I think they'll make the right moves. I think some people are thinking Belichick has his paw print still in the organization, because I've seen a lot of mock drafts, and I think I made a joke a couple weeks ago about them taking some offensive tackle from Iowa.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen some mock drafts where they're actually taking a tackle. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, they need offensive line help too.
They do, but they also need a cornerback that's not Mac Jones or the other guy.
There's 4 or 5 of them coming out. This is a good year. It'll be interesting to see where he lands.
Dallas.
Especially, with Dallas going out last night. Like a couple weeks ago when I was stuck in the airport, when Bama loses, America wins. Mm-hmm. When Dallas loses, NFL fans win. I can't see Mike McCarthy staying there. 12-5, 12-5, 12-5, and bounced without getting to an NFC championship. And it's funny, Tom Brady had 5 wins in Tampa Bay in the playoffs. Dallas has had 4 since 1997.
Jeez.
So... a lot of speculation that Bill will wind up there, and that, the Joneses are the Joneses. They do the player personnel. If they can just allow him to coach and he'll have a top tier quarterback, I think that's an interesting spot for him. I think Harbaugh will land in, I almost said Charlotte, in Los Angeles with the Chargers. So, but yeah, I do enjoy when Dallas loses, especially because that means Tampa doesn't have to face San Francisco next week. If we get past Tampa, this show is being recorded about an hour and a half before Monday Night Football. That's why I am dressed to the nines, including my PJ pants. I am ready to go. I am full on. I had my exact same. Well, last week we had breakfast, the same breakfast. This week for dinner we had the same meal. The superstitions, they come alive all the time, actually, to be honest with you. I can't just say playoffs, but... it is exciting times. Hell's Kitchen.
Caught up?
Honestly, the Black Jacket dinner service was as bad as the Dallas Cowboys played on Sunday. That was just, for a group that was so good in red and blue coats, to get to the Black Jackets. They were just terrible. And honestly, I was so worried for Jonathan. The way that Ramsey got in his head calling him a sack of shit, or looking like one. After being drunk and being hungover, I was truly worried for him.
Yeah, he did have a great service, eh? He took that a little too personally, and I think he kind of knows.
If your idol says you look like a bag of shit, you probably would take that.
If Gordon Ramsay called me a bag of shit, I'd probably be like, Gordon Ramsay called me a bag of shit.
yeah. Take it with a sense of pride. But, Demir and Lee were ousted, so we got a final four now. Still our two are still in there.
Yeah, we're still in it.
It's Carmen, Sammy, Jonathan, and Ryan. So
we're doing good.
Yeah, this is probably the longest that the two of us have had somebody in. I think you picked a winner once, but this is the longest that I've had.
Yeah, did I pick Alex last year?
I think so.
Yeah, who didn't even fulfill his Hell's Kitchen contract, anyways.
Oh, really?
Not gonna. Oh, yeah. He's not even working in Atlantic City. He's just doing. I guess he won the show, and then he was just like, "Oh, this is way too much of a commitment to leave my family," and just said,
"Oh, that
I'll
was the guy
pass."
from the Texas or Louisiana or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, he was an older guy, really good looking for his age.
Yeah,
had the two young boys, really good looking man. Like, yeah. He just didn't. I think I follow him on Instagram. All he does is he posts videos of himself in his kitchen at home cooking steak.
He probably makes more money doing that online with the notoriety of being on Hell's Kitchen. And
exactly.
It's like Dragon's Den and Shark Tank and stuff like that. Like, you may not get a deal, but your product just got on national television if it actually does, and you get more notoriety, like the Country Liberty guy, right?
Exactly, and he's a rock singer too. He's in a band. So Alex from
the Country. I was like the Country Liberty guy, or the
no,
Hell's Kitchen
Alex
guy?
from Hell's Kitchen. Yeah, so he's making music. He's cooking food in his kitchen and putting it on Instagram. And yeah, like you said, he's probably making more money doing that than he would with his Atlantic City $250,000.
A lot of cities. I don't know if I'd want to live in Atlantic City. No, it's like the Vegas of the East, and it's not a very good, not a very good Vegas of the East in general. But it's funny. Just as this show will end, we'll get another Gordon Ramsay show as Next Level Chef. Did you watch that?
I never did.
It's actually really good. They divide them into teams, and then there's three coaches. It's Gordon and I can't remember the other two right now off the top of my head, but they each get teams. And if the team wins or somebody wins on that team, you go to the top level, so you get all the best kitchen stuff.
Okay.
You get all the best food as the thing drops down. The second level, it's like a home It's like a home kitchen. Like, you don't have the best of the best, and then you get what's left over. And then the bottom is like bottom of the barrel, like 3 knives that are barely sharp. They got like it's like very like ovens and microwaves and stuff like that. And you got to cook these next level dinners and get elevated up. So it's pretty good. But when I was watching Hell's Kitchen, I said to Layla, I was like, you ever think Gordon Ramsay's gonna, when the food tasting, if he's gonna be like, blah blah blah, chef Guy Fieri is gonna walk through the door? Like, there's so many, like, Guy Fieri's got his like group of chefs, and it seems like Gordon Ramsay has his. I would like to see those two kind of go head to head in an all-star style food show.
Yeah, man, that was Guy Fieri's another one of my cooking idols, and
he's one of my hair idols, based on last year's playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. I've been watching that for years, and I love that show. And Gordon Ramsay, I've been watching Hell's Kitchen for as long as I can remember, you know. And so it's to have those two kind of face off against each other would be I'd be in for that.
Yeah, let's make it. If you're listening, Gordon or Guy Fieri, let's make it happen. Don't forget, as always, you can follow us on the social medias: Twitter, Wildcast, Instagram, Wildcast Podcast, TikTok, Wildcast Podcast. We'll get back to doing those. And of course, if you're not already watching, like and subscribe on the YouTube. Click the little bell so you don't miss any of this. We are going to do a quick question, but it's not coming from us. We're going to try something a little different, sir. We are. Well, podcast of the fans. We're a podcast of the people. And while we love all of your support every week, watching, talking to us, DMing us, stuff like that, we want to hear some of your quick questions. So what we're going to do this next few weeks moving forward, we're going to reach out, see if you guys have a quick question. Now, we know some of you are going to ask what our favorite player is, what our favorite NHL team is, and those are good. But we want like actual questions. Any sport, not so much what's your favorite player. So for this week, we're going to kick it off. We're going to allow producer Kyle, who you see off camera, he's going to jump on the mic, and he's going to give us his question for us.
Hey, guys.
Hey.
My quick question is, When you consider the Wildcats' record so far and the moves, or I guess lack thereof, that they made at the deadline, and how competitive of a season it has been so far across the cube, in your own opinion, what is a realistic outcome for this team? Are we talking first round, second round, possibly even the third, depending on a matchup? And in your opinion, what would have to happen for it to be considered either a successful or a failure of a season, in your opinion?
Good question.
That is a good question.
I'll kick it off.
Cup or bust?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, I've got to live up to my word here. I did say at the beginning of the season, I thought this team had what it would take to, get past Halifax, get into that third round, and all the way to the final. Really is exactly what I said. And as a man of my word, I have to stick with that. Honestly, I think if you're in a second round and you are up against Halifax as well, just like last year, I think based on how the games have gone recently, I think we have a much better chance to take them out.
Yep.
Compared to how last year went. They're without Dumais for a month or two here, and that's to be able to get a player like him back in time for the playoffs is like getting a superstar for absolutely nothing at the trade deadline.
It's the Q format of long-term IR for Tampa Bay and the Golden Knights.
But in all honesty, on that topic of Dumais, I don't want to get too much into that because it's a little the question is more focused about the Wildcats is if you're having sports hernia surgery and double hip whatever it is, I think they're personally rushing him back if they expect him back on the ice in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
That's, to me, I think that's a recovery time that's extremely expedited. And I talked to some doctors on the YouTube and on the Google.
Yeah.
And I just asked a little question: what a realistic healing time and full recovery for such an operation would be, and they said 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's a Columbus thing rushing him back or a Halifax thing rushing him back. I really hope they're not putting all their eggs in one basket, ruining this kid's career because they just want him for a playoff run.
Yeah.
I don't see him being 100% in 6 weeks. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
So really, in all honesty, if you want a season better than last year, you need 2 wins in the second round against Halifax, and that's I think they've got the group to do it. They kept the group intact, which is always good. And I think any time you can keep a group intact, you're going to have more chemistry, more relationships going into the playoffs, which will only help.
Yeah, I think to piggyback on the Dumais thing, I think if he's starting to skate in 6 weeks, okay. If you're thinking he's going to be full go in 6 weeks, I was surprised they didn't put season ending at least. Right now it sets up Halifax would take on Bathurst. They don't need him to beat Bathurst in the first round, so you can kind of give him. But do you really want to have him jump right back into a Moncton second round series? I don't know. Right now we would face Chicoutimi, which is a little bit tougher of a matchup travel-wise than Bathurst. But I think fans' expectation for this team, I think, as well as mine, I think it's the third round. I think this team, I don't want to say to consider it a success, but I think in the fans' eyes, the third round is kind of how you want to build it. And I think Richie and Dan are probably looking at the third round as the goal, and you got to the first round in whatever the COVID playoffs was. Last year you got to the second round. You battled through Baie-Comeau. You saw what the best of Halifax was. You ran out of gas. I think this year, if realistically you get to the third round, and then next year when you quote all-in year, that's your cup or bust year. I think if you get past Halifax, everything after that is gravy. To look at the matchups way far in advance, and I talked about this on the post-game show, your top 4 teams, and we'll say Moncton beats Halifax in the second round just for the sake of what I'm doing here. You're looking at Baie-Comeau Moncton in the third round, Rouen and Drummondville in the second. And that's just based on the standings today because both Drummondville and Rouen are about 8 points behind Baie-Comeau. That's a hell of a third-round series.
Yep.
And look, I'm going to get into it a little bit. I got into it on the post-game show. I'm going to get into it a little bit on the rewind. You know, we saw a full Halifax lineup, and Moncton took them to overtime. And I think Moncton knows that they can play with Halifax. I think it's just, for whatever reason, it's a mental hurdle in this building with Matthias Rousseau. And I think so. I think for fans, I think the realistic expectation is the third round. But considering a success, 2 more wins against Halifax.
Yeah, and that's really all you need. You know, it's I wholeheartedly think this team has what it takes to get past them and into the third round. And you know, against Baie-Comeau, I think that's a favorable matchup. You know, you know, it's we've proved we can beat them last year. Obviously, things are a little different. They've got a few extra players, you know, as part of the group they didn't have last year. But same can be said for Moncton. You know, it's there's. I think that's if it gets to that point and we are in the third round against Baie-Comeau, that's I think a favorable matchup.
Yeah,
I think Halifax is the hurdle.
Yeah,
you know, I think Halifax. If we can get past Halifax, I think my prediction of Moncton getting all the way to the cup is a realistic possibility.
Yeah, yep, 100%. And it's I don't know if it's going to take Halifax not being good next year and Moncton sweeping the season series to finally get over the hurdle. But I think they have to get over that mental hurdle of the Halifax Mooseheads in Moncton. They figured some sort of success on the road in the Scotiabank Center. They just got to get it at home. So appreciate the question, Kyle. Thank you for that. And we will continue to kind of have this quick question week after week. We'll either ask for your quick question and pick the best one and get a voice recording, or we'll just reach out to fans and ask if they have a question for us onto the show. But let's get to some news and notes from around the queue.
News and notes from around the queue.
The commissioner, Mr. Mario Cicchini, was doing the Maritimes trip, Charlottetown, or St. John, Charlottetown, Moncton, up in Bathurst. Everything seemed to go good through 3 of the cities. It was more of a let's learn about the Maritimes, let's get some information from, take it all in, absorb it all. Bathurst was a little bit different. He was in Bathurst with the mayor, with the owner of the team, and they're basically looking for new ownership. With that new ownership, they want to keep the team in Bathurst, right?
Yeah, that's the goal, and they want to find an investor that's willing to keep the team in Bathurst, that wants to succeed on and off the ice. And you know, if you ask me, the team needs a lot of work.
Yeah,
they need a very rich marketing genius or expert, whatever you want to call it, to be in control of that organization for it to succeed. There's a lot of fans that aren't showing up to that rink.
Yeah.
You know, they're lucky if they get 1,500, 2,000 fans a game, and some nights it's some nights it's less than 1,000. So
yeah.
You've really got a lot of seats to fill in that rink, and
they're averaging 1496 in 21 home games this year.
There you go. So less than 1,500, and I know it's Moncton's average is probably what 43. So you're.
But to put that in perspective, Blainville, who is in the Montreal market, which isn't easy, is at 1629, and then Val-d'Or in the middle of nowhere is 1654. And then obviously Bathurst is the worst in the league. So Johnny Rocket, I know you got money, marketing genius, but they need the Irwins. They need a type of Irwins, whether it's the Halifax Irwins or
the Simons. You mean
the Simons? Yeah. Not the Irwins. The Simons. Even the ones in Cape Breton, like you see the difference that Cape Breton has done just with the simple marketing of win $3,000 for over 3,000 fans. Like just a simple, which when you have an owner with pockets, you can do that kind of stuff, but they continue to get fans in that building, and you got to try and do something a little bit different. Obviously I've had many of ideas for many of things, but it can't be easy in that market. And that's a team too that, aside from the Memorial Cup championship in 2019 and a run 2 years ago, there's not been a lot of reason to go to the rink. And this second half is going to be no exception. Like, it feels to me the 1,400 people is their season ticket base. And they're not getting a lot of walk-up, or at least like 1,100 is a season ticket base and not a lot of a walk-up. So I understand from the standpoint of it's got to be tough to sell tickets when your team is what seems like a continual rebuild and drafting. And, I mean, they got eight picks in the first 3 rounds in the next 3 years, which will help expedite that. But they need somebody, whether it's from outside, to come in and keep that team there and run it from afar. But, yeah, they need somebody. I was glad that the commissioner was going there to announce he wants to keep the team in Bathurst, not we're looking to move the team to wherever. And I know you had a conversation with him. I don't know if you brought up relocation or team or expansion into the U.S. market.
So I
Spoiler
asked,
alert.
Yeah, so I asked him about that, and that'll be on my article that'll be released probably later this week.
Professional tease there.
I asked him, I said, does the name change have any effect on, where this league can grow? Mm-hmm. And he said, absolutely not. It's if you look at the Ontario Hockey League, it's called the Ontario Hockey League, but they've got teams in Michigan. Yeah. It's called called the Western Hockey. Well, yeah, it's called the Western Hockey League, but there's teams in the U.S. as well. So he said there's nothing stopping this league from growing back into the U.S. markets or to Newfoundland for that matter. He said everything's on the table. He said he's happy with the 18 teams right now. He said there's no reason to expand or to relocate or even think about expansion right now. He's happy with how the 18 teams are doing.
Yeah, we have, spoiler alert, we've got a little bit of a conversation with him coming up where we talked about all kinds of different things, and we'll get into our thoughts on that interview after that is over. Scholastic Player of the Month is Liam Kilfoyle of the Halifax Mooseheads for the month of December.
Nerd.
I like how that's evolved from nerd to sounding like a goat saying nerd.
Nerd.
Your QMJHL team of the week. I'm guessing you can guess at least 2 of them.
Joseph Henneberry.
Yeah, that's one.
Maverick Gauthier.
No.
He was robbed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, no, not
Maxime
Mathis Gauthier.
Oh, Mathis. Okay.
My bad.
All right. So the forwards, as Jeremy alluded to, Joseph Henneberry. He loves playing in Bathurst. 5 goals, 3 assists in 3 games played. Maxime Peller in 3 games played, 0 goals, 9 assists. 7 of them were in that Bathurst game. Henneberry, his 4 goals, 3 assists were in that one Bathurst game. Alexander Giardo of Gatineau, 3 games played, 4 goals, 2 assists. Mathis Gauthier of the Olympique, 1 goal, 4 assists in 3 games. Jeremy Langlois, the Huskies, 2 goals, 3 assists in 4 games. And Quentin Miller was 1-1, a .966 save percentage, and a 101 goals against average. He did have 1 shutout, though, in his victory over St. John.
Your loss was against us.
Which means the player of the week, by no one's surprise if they saw the score between Victoriaville and Bathurst. Joseph Henneberry, 3 games, 5 goals, 3 assists, a +4. And like I said, 4 goals, 3 assists. That's one of those, I think it was Jamie Tozer, like, this game's drunk. Like, 4-0, then it was 5-4, then the Q images that preceded had, like, the picture with, like, 2 minutes left, and they were down by 2 goals and came all the way back. Like, that's unbelievable that Pellerin has 7 assists on 8 of the goals. Like, yeah, that is unreal. So that is your QHL team of the week. Let's get to our team, the Weekly Rewind.
Weekly Rewind.
So the Wildcats go 1-0-1 on the weekend, bringing the record to 25-8-3-3 for 56 points on the season. Good enough for 3rd in the conference, 2nd in the Maritimes division, which, based on the standings, because we can almost get into that now, Moncton would play, like I said earlier, Chicoutimi in a first-round matchup on the big ice.
Wasn't it Bathurst based on Dave McKnight's tweet?
Dave McKnight's tweet, yeah, on percentage. On winning
percentage.
Yeah.
I gotta read more.
No, it's based on the winning percentage, but I think that would also probably be based closely on the PWHL 3-point system too. So yeah, because the Wildcats points percentage is 0.718 and Halifax is 0.674. So based on percentage, which I don't think they do anymore because it's not a COVID year. Thank F. Saturday, so no game against Bathurst, obviously for weather conditions, which. Much as I don't like seeing games be canceled due to weather, it's way better than seeing games being canceled for the old reason. So they had the extended break, kind of like a bye week, as they played last weekend against St. John. They didn't play again until Saturday. They got the 4-1 victory over Rimouski. Well, first, Brent DeBoer made this for me. Made a picture of Riker.
Oh, nice.
And his birthday. And I didn't. He was supposed to bring it on Saturday. And so he brought it Sunday, but it was for Saturday's game, and he said, "Happy birthday to Riker. Yesterday was your birthday. Miss you each and every day, just like Mom and Adam. I hope the Wildcats will score 4 goals tonight on your birthday, number 27. Rest easy, little man. We will win this game for you tonight. Love you, miss you, rest in peace. Love Brent and your Wildcats podcast family." And Jeremy in it. I didn't pre-read that, so my eyes are getting watery right now. But yeah, that guy. When he makes predictions based on Riker, the team wins. Yeah. He had one earlier in the year where he said they were going to win for Riker, and they did. He said they were going to score 4 goals. They did. Yeah, we talked about it. I wouldn't say it was a 60-minute effort. We mentioned it was probably a 45. But they were able to take control in the third period and get the 2 points in what I thought was a more physical game than the game against Halifax.
Yeah, it really was. Rimouski is, they're no slouch, and I think Moncton wanted to kind of put it to them just because of the whole Memorial Cup thing.
Yeah,
and it was all around. I think a really solid effort. I gotta mention Gabe Smith was flying.
Yeah,
he was flying out there.
Yeah,
and that's probably one of the better games I've seen him play in quite a while.
He was the hardest worker that night.
Was he that game?
Yep.
Was it okay? Who was Halifax?
Denway.
Right. Yeah. So he was out there flying, and it was all around really good effort, and they seem to play their best hockey in the second half of the game. I'm like they're almost like a third period team. They're playing their best hockey when the game's on the line, when they need to put it away. And I think you've got their record with a lead after.
Who doesn't love stats?
Their record as a team with a lead after 40 minutes or something like that. It's undefeated. They're undefeated. Is that how it is? So they've really shown that they can lock down these games.
22-0-1-1 overall team. And at home, they are 11-0-1.
Crazy.
Yeah,
that's a pretty solid.
Can't come back when they're trailing, but when they're leading, so no more comeback Cats. But you're right though. That Tyler Gauguin, I think it's Tyler, right?
Yeah. Tyson. Yeah.
Scores midway through the third period, cuts the lead, and then you just kind of saw Moncton take over. It was a little bit of a theme in this one and the Halifax one. Maybe just take care of the slot. A couple times the Wildcats are getting caught puck watching. And this one was a save off Warren and right to go again in the slot. And like I said on the post-game shows, guys in the queue aren't going to miss. Guys like us, we're going to miss. Guys in the queue, they're not going to miss from there. So like to see him collapse a little bit more in the slot area. But Keegan Warren got the start. Loved it. I kind of thought coming off the St. John game he was going to play Bathurst and then Steinman was going to get both. I heard down the quad, I believe, on with Marty that given the extra break allowed them to kind of change things up a little bit goalie-wise and allowed Keegan to play, who hasn't played, I believe, since December 30th against St. John. So it's been a while since he played. 29 saves. I didn't want to think it. I didn't want to say it, but once the Rimouski scored, I was like, I wondered if a goaltender has gone into somebody else's barn, shut out a team on Teddy Bear Toss night, and then shut out a team at his own home Teddy Bear Toss, allowing his team. Keegan was right there, but in both games, Keegan showed he didn't just play St. John. He played a good team, and he responded and gave him a chance to win.
No, and you're right. And just looking at Bacomo's roster, or not Bacomo, sorry, Rimouski, Alexander Blais, Jacob Matthew, and I think their other forward on the top line, I can't think of his name, but all minuses across the board. Their top
Jacob Matthews, isn't it?
Jacob Matthew, Alexander Blais, and there's another one that I'm missing on their top line. I can't remember who it was, but you're scoring your goals against their top line, which is huge. But that's you can't be relying on your getting lucky with your your top line being out there against a fourth line. It's if you want to win, you got to be able to take advantage of your opportunities against the team's top lines, and they did that. And looking at the stats are good. Dangerous shots, I think I calculated 18 or 19 dangerous shots for Muski, and Keegan Warren had 29 saves, so only 10 of those were considered flimsy little dump-ins probably, and so he was sharp, really sharp.
Yep, it was the Teddy Bear Toss game, and Collard sent the Teddy Bears flying. Again, we got to see Max Barbashev. He's just not the same player, and I'm not.
No.
I said it to you, and I said it to a couple people around the rink. I just think he's not in a Wildcat sweater, and I think he wanted to play. His brother played for this franchise. He wanted to play for this franchise, and I'm not saying he doesn't want to play for other franchises because he's playing in Major Junior Hockey, but I don't think it's the same in a different jersey.
No, I agree. When you saw him here against Shawinigan, you thought, okay, maybe he's had a bad game, but I mean, numbers wise, he's just not putting up the same numbers. He's just, you're right, he's not the same player. So it just leads you to believe that Moncton is the only city he wanted to play in, the only team he wanted to suit up for, and it's tough, but when trades are part of the business.
Yeah,
and you've got to learn to accept them. And for some reason, it doesn't look like he's either. I just don't think he's enjoying the game right now.
No, I think he wanted to be in either Moncton or Hartford, and it didn't happen for him. So, and again, this is 2 games we've seen him play. I haven't seen him play against other teams. Maybe he gets ramped up, but when he just plays Moncton, it's something about being in the arena, and maybe gets a little sad. I don't know. But we get into Sunday's fun day. Again, another 6,000 people at the barn, which I will say on the Teddy Bear Toss, start putting that thing out early. Like if you can fill the building on New Year's Eve because you have a plan around it, you can fill the building on Teddy Bear Toss. There should easily be 7,500 people full of teddy bears. Good amount of teddy bears for people kind of just finding out on the Tuesday. But it's a situation where, I don't know, schedule wise, put a bid in and say we just want that first December weekend, and that's what you plan, and you give away tickets or whatever you do. I think the reason that it was somewhat successful is to Timbits Weekend.
Yeah,
I think if it's not Timbits Weekend, it's even worse of a Teddy Bear Toss. But we get into Sunday. They get the 4-3 win in overtime over Halifax.
No, we didn't win the game.
We get the 4-3 point in the loss to Halifax. I was reading the top thing about the win. This was a playoff style game. This was exactly what the playoffs are going to look like. If you wanted to come to the rink and see 7-6, 8-7 style game, you were not going to see that. Again, it was not a 60-minute effort, but I was happy with this game. And for the simple reason, we stayed 2 points behind them. We have the one makeup game that we're playing tonight against Blainville. But like I said on the post games, that was a full Halifax roster. Minus Dumaine. He's a big part of it, but that's as full as their roster is going to be. And for a team that didn't do anything and kept the core together and said, go do what you need to do with this group, they pushed him to overtime and they gave Halifax everything they had. And if they don't allow Sprinar to get a puck in the slot, maybe they win the hockey game. A little bit better gap control on Vidicek. he doesn't tie the game. And then the OT goal, puck watching, and Catafor buries it from, you guessed it, the slot. But I was, for the most part, really happy with the effort against Halifax coming in on a back-to-back.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this game, and I think you messaged me with like 5 minutes left saying, they're on hold, they're trying to hold on here, they're trying to hold on here, and then next thing you know, we got a 3-2 lead.
Yeah,
and it's and it just it sure would be nice to have a clutch player in our lineup like Marcus Vidicek.
Oh man,
just give me 6 months here, and
oh yeah, because number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and you know what else I figured out? Our 20-year-old that wears number 3 graduates out, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So,
Yeah.
Just I'm just saying, like, we're just looking at jersey numbers, but yeah, there was a 6 released and a 3 ages out, but who knows?
We're just throwing crap out there because we know some people within the team listen to our show. So
Yeah.
what do we know? Like I said, we always say we're just a couple guys with microphones in front of our faces.
Basically, we just flip
watching
the coin.
football game while we're trying to do a podcast.
One of us is.
Well,
one of us is waiting to finish this thing so we can go watch a football game. But
no, you're right though. This is a really good game,
including a penalty shot.
A penalty shot in overtime. Yeah. When I heard that, I immediately thought of Big Daddy, the movie, when the kids there. There's a penalty shot in overtime. This happens like once every 100 games.
Yeah. Kangaroo song. All right.
Douchebag kangaroo. Yeah. It was almost, we almost had it.
Yeah.
Almost had it. We were a minute and 30 away from a division lead, and just let it slip away.
Yeah.
That overtime winner, maybe it's me being a little bit of a homer here, but I think I saw a pick on Mueller that allowed him to not catch up or chase Cataford or Vidicek around the neck. I think it was Cataford that laid a pick on Mueller while he was chasing Vidicek, and which allowed Vidicek to get around the net by himself and then find Cataford in the slot. So I think again, maybe that's me being a homer, but I think that was probably maybe a missed interference call on that winner. And but there's really nothing you can do there. It's I really think this team needs to focus more on. I think they don't play very well in overtime. They had that 2-on-1. And I think they executed it as poorly as could be, where they literally could have put the game away. And for some reason, Matthew Cataford, a forward, was able to get back and break up a 2-on-1.
Yeah.
You cannot let that happen. And same thing happened in against Charlottetown New Year's Eve. They're not. Their shot selection is despicable. It's so bad in overtime, and the game in Shawinigan where they lost like 6 seconds into the game. I don't know what this team is. What's wrong with this team when it comes to overtime or 3-on-3, but they need to figure it out. Like it's there's been that's
too cute thing.
Too cute. It's too cute, and they're just it's simple. It's simple hockey.
And if it's not for Lounsbury's speed, because Moran was gassed.
Yeah.
And I'll give him props for trying to get back. He took the second forward, but if it's not for Lounsbury's speed that ends up getting the slash, which now that they didn't score, worked out in our favor instead of giving Halifax a power play. But you are correct, and it's kind of a theme against Halifax. They're looking for the perfect play, and Halifax just puts the puck on net, puts the puck on net, puts the puck on net.
Like, when was the last time this team won a game in overtime?
It's been a while.
Right?
I don't think they have won this season in overtime.
Well, that's it, right?
Hey, they scored a goal in the first 5 minutes, though.
They did. I was quite amazed.
We buried the lead there on the power play, too. The number one power play in the league, who went 0 for 5 the night before, went 1 for 1. We buried the lead there. I think one of the other, I don't want to say curious decisions, I missed the warm-up, but I put the lineup out. Obviously, so did the team. But I put the lineup out, and it had Carrier on the fourth line.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to the rink and saw the first line, second line, third line, and noticed that Cooper Cormier was out in the fourth line. And unless something in warm-up happened that I didn't see or what, but it seemed like it was a healthy scratch decision on Carrier. I don't understand what for. And like I said on the post game, this is not a shot at Cooper Cormier, but Riley Sampson is there. And again, we don't go to practices. We don't see how these guys practice. We don't see what goes into these decisions. But I thought it was a little curious that Cooper Cormier just getting called up, and maybe it's because he just got called up. They wanted to get him in right away and get him into that Halifax rivalry. But I didn't understand that decision. I think if you're gonna have a player sit up in the top of section 118, I think there's a different player I might go for with that decision. But I think Carrier being a healthy scratch after warm-up was quite the decision for me.
Yeah, and I got a message about that today. Why is the 6th overall pick a healthy scratch in favor of a 241st overall pick? But really, you got to find, if it's a matter of finding ice time, it's sure. That was a interesting decision. If it was in fact a healthy scratch, and I just checked, and they have yet to win an overtime or shootout game yet this season. And the last time they won anything in extra time was March 17th of last year against that was a loss against Cape Breton. Yeah. Shootout win against the Charlottetown Islanders, March 17th of last year, was their last win of anything to do with extra time.
Was that a Philly-on game? I feel like that was a Philly-on one. Not that it matters, but
no, it was Steinman.
It was Steinman.
Yeah. So that's the last time they've won a game in extra time.
Yeah.
March 17th of last year. You're almost, that's 10 months.
Yeah.
So it's maybe it's just me being a little, selfish, but I just haven't been impressed with how they've approached overtimes.
No.
I think there was a game earlier this season where they lost a game. It wasn't the Schwinnigan one, but they lost it 7 or 8 seconds into the game, or 17 seconds.
Charlottetown.
Yeah.
One of the home games against Charlottetown.
Yes.
There was a turnover.
Yeah.
Almost the exact same situation. Remember last year, near the end of the year, when I think it was Glant. I can't remember who knocked the puck off Tybell's stick and went all the way down. It was the same thing again. A carbon copy of this year early that he went down and scored in overtime. So
no, I think they need to approach overtimes a lot differently. It's just not working out.
Yeah.
They need to. There's to not get a shot off on a 2-on-1 in overtime with a forward back as a defenseman is it's not acceptable. Yeah. You've got to put it away. You've got to bury it. That's all I got to say.
Yeah. 2 shots in OT are not going to get it done. But hey, thankfully they are getting to OT. Like, these heartbreak losses aren't costing us in the standings. I mean, you take away these, Halifax is potentially running away with the division again. So at least the losses are continuing to get points. Now they go on the road. They got 4, the longest road trip per time of 2 weeks with the Prospects game in there, but it's the first of 2 4-game road trips. So they head to Blainville tonight. They got Victoriaville tomorrow, and they got Rimouski. Again, a little bit of a wrinkle in the schedule next Saturday. That should be quite the feisty affair, as it's in Rimouski, and they usually get the favorable stripes sometimes, maybe. But I think we're going to see what this team is about, and they've got one of the second best record in the queue on the road, 14-2-2. They're going to see Chiarlo tonight in Blainville, I would imagine. They've had success against him, which, fun fact, I think Louis-Philippe Gagne of the Drakcast tweeted that the shutout by Gravel was the first shutout by a goaltender not named Olivier since March 22nd of 2020 or something like that. Like,
Wow.
it's been like a long time, and Lucas Fitzpatrick was the last one. So, this is a little bit of a different Blainville roster. They're right there in the thick of a division battle in the Eastern, or thick of a conference battle in the Western Conference. But this is going to be a good test. Blainville, Victoria back-to-back. I think you'll see a very good Wildcats team who gets on the road, gets a little bit of a break. As I think they were watching the Habs game, kind of a team builder. And like Mueller said in the interview, they like to be around each other. They like to hang out. It's a group that likes to be around each other, and I think that's probably why they've had a lot of success on the road.
Yeah, and it's I think some people look at this game and think it's not very important. Mm-hmm. I think this is the most important game of the road trip. And I'll say that because if you, for any reason, look past this game, looking ahead to Victoriaville and Rimouski, you're in for a shitstorm.
Yeah.
This is don't look past this team because they've, like you said, they've got Charlo and they've got Fauchon who can do some damage. And if they're looking past this, if they're focused more on a Thursday night against...
Oh, crap. Thursday night.
What?
Our Thursday night games have not been
Thursday
kind.
Night. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They've not been kind to us.
A Thursday night game. If you're looking ahead to that Thursday night game, or your Saturday afternoon against Rimouski, you're in trouble. So I think this is probably the most important game on this road trip.
Yeah, no, I don't doubt that. This is the game where usually the families come out. The Blainville Victoriaville road trip. They're going to see. So it's going to be a good family trip. Last 5 years. At Blainville, they've gone 2-1, so they've been able to at least have the statistical. But last year they split home and home. I don't. Last 5 years, Moncton has dominated, but still, this is not a game you can ill afford to look past. And it's not so much a trap game, but yeah, you're bang on because you look past this one, and then potentially the losses can compound, and that's what this team has done a very good job of, is not letting losses compound to 2 and 3 and 4. But Blainville, Victoriaville, Rimouski, then you get another long break, and then you got Cape Breton, who has gotten better since the trade deadline and is playing really good hockey right now. That's where things can kind of steamroll and get away from you on the road in what is a close divisional battle.
And that's going to be another big game against Cape Breton because you're as
they're right on the heels of Rimouski.
Yeah, and as not great as they've been,
yeah,
they're only I think 10
points behind us right now.
10 points behind, and here we are. We've been mocking them all year, and the slightest little bit of a losing streak, and we're neck and neck with them, and then it's then we're not into so many favorable matchups in round one. So you really got to get that road mindset on and really continue with this with the success you've had on the road, because it's you need to counteract these home performances somehow. Yeah. And a 4-game road trip could be a really good way to do it.
Yep. Cape Breton's got Chicoutimi at home, then they've got St. John at home, and then they've got Halifax at home. So they've got a nice home stretch, and they're playing pretty good hockey, and they're no slouch. And all of a sudden you get to that game on the 28th, and that 10-point lead is a 4-point lead. Things get a little tighter in that race. So we should probably get to our guest today. He's a pretty big deal.
Oh, that one.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, the one we've been saving. So let's get to the view from the other bench.
View from the other bench.
All right, so Saturday, as part of the maritime trip for the commissioner, we were invited to the media scrum, and our questions were taken before we got to them as part of the scrum. But Raphael Doucette, the new communications guy for the Q, as well as Michelle of the Wildcats, were gracious enough to give us some time with Mr. Cicchini. So here is that interview with the commissioner.
Hey, podcast fans. It's a view from the other bench with the QMJHL Commissioner Mario Cicchini. You came from the Quebec market in the Montreal Alouettes, more specifically. I guess the CFL's had issues trying to grow their game as it gets more into TV and social media and stuff like that, as you're competing with grocery money and fans getting younger. What are you going to try to do with the younger generation to keep them up in terms of, like us, podcasts and league-wide and stuff like that?
Well, I think we're doing it now, first of all. I think that type of communication with the new ways, and they're less and less new. But I'm saying, like, trying to reach that younger audience, if you will, in many different facets. So that's a challenge already. And mind you, you will also hear us use traditional media, because sometimes I have a media background. So for me, it's hard to answer that question without being a bit technical. But we over-exaggerate the hype of social media, and we overplay the downfall, if you will, of traditional media. Ask anybody who does a TV interview or radio interview, he's getting some text messages afterwards. So it still works, is my point. But we have to just be aggressive in a good way on every platform that's out there that's available, and reach the kids where they are. It's challenging, but we have to start, and we will start that soon. You will hear some form of advertising out of the league, which the league has never done. So that's a first this year. It's coming up in January or Feb or something like that. So I won't throw the punches away. But then also, I think we have to work on with the teams. When I say we, that's a team responsibility, but the league has to play a role in supporting them, bringing ideas together, sharing good practices of the famous fan experience, the in bowl experience, making sure that kids want to come back. Basically, that's the driver. If they come back, if they tell their parents, I want to come back, it was an enjoyable afternoon, well priced, not overpriced, not underpriced, but well priced, and making sure that they leave here with a big smile. That's our job.
Yeah, and you've seen it with some of the other teams, like Chicoutimi's got one, Quebec's got one, Cape Breton now is a podcast. So you kind of see teams kind of building towards younger fans.
And if I may, we've changed our communications director. We hired a new person called Raphaël Doucet, which hopefully you have met, or he will reach out. I don't know if you notice, but his title has content producer in there also. So, and it's going to be content that's going to be available to you guys. So it's not to in sort of internal journalist, if you will, but to produce tons and tons of videos and audios and articles that you can build on, that you can use if you want. So you'll see the league much more active producing that type of content also.
And just piggybacking off Adam's question, when you were president of the Alouettes, I think I read somewhere where the attendance increased by 5,000 per game or something like that. So what can
25%.
There you go. So what can you as a commissioner do for the league to get more butts in the seats? Because let's be honest, some teams are still trying to recover from the pandemic.
Well, you heard my numbers of the attendance, right? So at least we're all on the right path versus last year. Well, the first thing I got to do is get out of the way as a commissioner of those who do it right. And I say that, no joking. That's important. So we're not here to impose ways. We're here to make sure that those who do it well, the ideas they have circulate very rapidly. We're really starting to sort of have that on the ice, everybody competes. Off the ice, it's total collaboration. On the business side, on the admin side, on the marketing side, we totally have to collaborate and bring the league at another level that way. What we can do, though, is make sure, and back to a little bit of your question about, let's call it the image of the league, with lack of a better term, that everybody, when you read that logo, you feel good. You want to join it, you want to play in it, you want to go watch it. And that's many, many, many little things. And we want to make sure that we communicate properly what we do. And we always will need to improve on that, because there's so many things that the team does, that the league does, that is good for the kids and / the community. So I think that's what we can do.
So when you talk about getting fans in seats, fans want to see the best players come through. And obviously the Quebec teams play the Maritimes just twice a year, once at home, once away. And I've always wondered if there is an ability to have 3 times where they play 2 one time, 1 on the road, and they switch it up, or try and have a more balanced schedule between the conferences, the East and the West. And I know travel is a big thing, and weather is a big thing when you get into the winter, but I've always used the analogy, like Gabriel Dag, Victoriaville was the first overall pick. He's only been here twice. He's been fortunate to play here twice, but fans might not get to see the number 1 overall pick if he's the backup goaltender. So is there a chance that you can maybe balance out the schedule so at the end of the year you don't get those lower matchups in the division and try and get more fans to see more Quebec teams? Because that's kind of what Maritime teams like to see.
The calendar is probably the hottest topic right now. Where we'll end up, I literally have no idea. This decision will be made in a month from now at the board in terms of the, when I say the how do you say, sort of the structure of the schedule. Everybody is striving to have a better schedule or a more attractive schedule, a perfect schedule, and I don't know if I can use some vulgarity on the podcast, but we joke internally, kids, close your ears, that when everybody is equally PO'd is when you've done a good schedule. Because even when I was president of the Alouettes that you refer to, you're never happy with your schedule. The other team has more days rest. We have more 3-on-3s. There's always something that goes with the availabilities of the buildings. It's really it's hard. There's some issues that you cannot get around to. It's just, you have to just say, listen, it's not that bad. If when as a GM, if you say it's not that bad, and most of them say that, then we're good. So so that's on the large scale. On the smaller scale, like issues like you mentioned and all that, that's in the works. So everybody's recuperating a bit better now versus COVID. So cost could be less of an issue moving forward as we build revenue. So it's up to us to do the right thing. So actually cost and travel doesn't become an obstacle. After that, though, you have to look at, say, okay, guys, I mentioned the schedule of the players. They are athlete students. They don't play in the NHL yet. So we have to be mindful of that also. Absolutely. So that all these things that's come together. So do I see short-term huge changes? Probably not. When I say short-term, I mean next year. Right. But as I said, we are initiating a lot of conversations on many topics, because I know that some going to come around in 3-4 years, others in 5 years, others never, and others maybe boom, boom, boom next year. So that's how we look at things. So is it possible? Probably possible. Does it have to be totally balanced? Are we allowed to say I'll give you an example that's not necessarily linked to our league, but on the CHL level. I would have loved to have Connor Bedard come and play a game in Moncton last year. So when we have an exceptional player, which we wish him well, he got hurt, we should showcase the CHL that way, you know. Right. So in order to do that, we need to leave some room in the calendar, because some exceptional players don't necessarily deliver the promises, so we have to be careful. And there's also maybe sometimes places for, look at what the NBA does. You know, it's exciting. So is there ideas we can look at that we can throw around, bounce around, and have some form of mid-season, say, and so that could be interesting. And obviously, since I'm in Moncton, you guys are fully aware, we have part of the calendar is the prospect game that is coming here. You know, there's great interest. I know the tickets are going rather rapidly, but I'm told there's still some, so don't miss that. We'll probably have a fifth Q player, in the game, so that's just make it a bit more interesting. But you'll get to see the best players of our global CHL league, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, you mentioned.
You tell me if I talk too much.
No, it's okay. You mentioned like throwing around ideas. We saw the launch of the Professional Women's Hockey League on the 1st of January, and their jailbreaker rule is something that maybe could be a future QMJHL thing, where if you score shorthanded, the penalized player can leave the box. It would obviously have to be a CHL change, but would that be something you'd be in favor of?
Well, I certainly would entertain that idea. I'm not against it. I know players, coaches, everybody, what they train for, what they like to play is 5-on-5. So once you made the other team pay with a goal for their mistake or penalty, why not get back to 5-on-5? So I'm not saying we'll do it. I've not even discussed it with any GM. But to me, I know that you know where that rule comes from. You do remember. It's because of the Montreal Canadiens. They were so strong in the 50s, I think it was the 50s or 60s. They used to score 2-3 goals. Okay. So there was and then it came back so that's where it came from. So we'll see but there's many ways to treat that, also a 5-minute penalty, and I mean every year those are rules that to me the way I think, I don't mind reviewing those. Those to me are not ongoing discussions, or it's evolving with times. There's you'll get a bunch of GMs that think differently at the same time. Then 10 years later, it's different. So different commissioner. So anything that, and I'll ultimately feedback if we get data that says that the fan would like it that way. I mean that's an impact that doesn't favor any team, and favors in a way what we don't want to happen is always the unintended consequences of having less or more penalties for some other reason, because unintended means you have not figured it out before it happens. So we would have to look into it, but to look into it, definitely not against it.
Just one more, because I know you got a very busy schedule for you. So obviously the marquee event, aside from the prospects game, is the draft. It's a one-day event. Has there been any thoughts to like the NFL, where you said you're looking at other leagues and other stuff? The NFL, where they do the round one marquee event on a Friday night, put it on the CHL TV, and then they have the rest of the draft on the Saturday.
Pay attention to the coming weeks of when we publish the schedule. That's all I'm going to say.
Maybe some breaking news there. You never know.
All right. Well, I know you have a very busy schedule. We appreciate you taking the time with us today.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you very
it.
much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Even though I stumbled on my words coming out of that intro with him, which why wouldn't I? Nervous talking to a new commissioner.
You were just hungover and drunk.
yeah, that's exactly what I was. Great to talk to him. Very well spoken in terms of the league. We talked about it a little bit after. He literally seems like no idea is a bad idea. He's receptive to anything. I am absolutely pumped when the schedule comes out, because I have been calling for round one of the Q draft to be a prime time event. He didn't come out and say it, but he did not come out and say it. So I have been on the bandwagon of making that an event. Now we won't have a first round pick as of right now for that, which kind of sucks, but he just seems like an excellent commissioner to take this league into the new era and the new social media and grow the younger fan base.
Oh, for sure. He's very, like I said, very well spoken, and you're right. He's not against any ideas, and that Friday night thing. I think it's that's going to be an idea that. What did he say? Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for the schedule.
Stay tuned to the schedule. Yeah. So that sounds pretty promising for a little Friday night fun fest at the Avenir Center, and roll out the red carpet for the prospects and their families, and make it a big hoopla. And you're right, we won't have a first round pick, but based on what I've heard is it's a good year not to have a first round pick. Yeah. So it's these are, when it comes to the picks that we do have, make them count.
Yeah, no, and we may not have a first round pick that in not the best pool of picks. But it's going to be a first round you're probably going to want to pay attention to and be there on that night for some things happening.
That's right.
We could probably give you 6 reasons why. But again, and one of the cooler ideas that he had was not so much the in-season NBA tournament, because as a non-NBA fan, I didn't understand that and I was like, that's weird. But I liked his idea of last year, Connor Bedard, generational player. How do we get him into the queue in like an exhibition style in the middle of the season to kind of generate revenue? And I mean, you talked about the 14-year-old who didn't apply for exceptional status. You want to talk about filling the rink in Barnes? That's a type of situation where a player like that in the queue could kind of revitalize some of the fan base. And it's just, I don't know how you make that happen, but I thought that was pretty cool.
I think I didn't want to correct him when he was talking about Connor Bedard. He's like, how great would it have been to see Connor Bedard in Moncton? Well, we did see Connor Bedard in Moncton.
You should, yeah, with the Pats, I think you meant. But
Yeah, no. I last thing I wanted to do was sit there and be like, as a matter of fact, sir, we did see Connor Bedard and Moncton.
Yeah, that's part of the word. Yeah, exactly.
No, but no, yeah. The whole thing, I think, like my dream scenario would be to somehow see the Wildcats play the Barrie Colts. That's
and not that preseason thing that they did a few years ago.
yeah,
where they went
and
there and
because
got
we think like it's that only opportunity would be a Memorial Cup, and they're just not on the same trajectory whatsoever. So to be able to, maybe go see them, a game like that would be a lot of fun.
Who would you cheer for? Both teams to have fun?
I would have probably my Wildcats jersey on and a Barrie Colts hat.
I was gonna say, please don't tell me you're gonna make one of them half and half things.
No, I wouldn't.
Half and half monstrosities.
You can't afford that.
Well, no, I meant make one.
Oh,
Stitch
you
it
can't
yourself.
afford that.
Yeah, I think that would be cool, and I don't know if maybe that's a preseason thing that you do if the CHL tries to put preseasons together. I know you had your interview, and spoiler alert, I don't want to give away all your questions, but did you ask about the C-Shep thing and how you can kind of maybe
I didn't
start that somehow a little earlier? No, you didn't?
No.
Because that's I know your favorite rule, right?
Oh, I love that rule.
You ready for everyone's favorite part of the show?
Best rule in the league.
It's one of them. You ready for everyone's favorite part of the show?
Yeah.
Do I have to get some Kleenex for tears, or you're good?
No.
You're good?
We're all good
right.
this week.
All right.
We're all good, yeah.
Although I did it this week. So.
Exactly.
Eric Murray, Realtor. Buy your house from him. Stick Tap of the Week.
Adam, it's your birthday next month. How old are you going to be? 40?
2.
42?
Yeah.
42?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
I don't look it.
Well, Adam's going to be 42 next week. Me, I'm going to be 39 in May.
Yeah.
Terry Ryan,
Yeah.
47 years old, signs a contract to play for the Newfoundland Growlers.
Yeah, that's crazy.
This guy was in the dressing room. He's got more gray hairs than I've got, which is, obviously based on age, but it was his birthday as well. And I had to laugh because in his post-game interview, he talked about how he was 5 or 6 pints deep the night before, only to find out that he was signing a contract the next day to play pro hockey.
Right.
Never give up in your dreams. If you want to be a police officer, go be a police officer. If you want to be an astronaut, go be an astronaut.
Yeah.
Like that NFL quarterback, isn't like a third string NFL quarterback?
Yeah, Josh Dobbs.
That's the one. He's like an astronaut. If you want to try out for a pro hockey league team at 47 years old, you go out and do it. And he got in a fight too. Did you see that? He got in a fight.
Shocking that somebody wanted to make their name by fighting him.
47 years old, dropping the gloves in the ECHL. So a lot better, more entertaining stick tap of the week this week to the old, was it former 8th overall pick?
I think so.
Something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Are you?
Stick tapping.
Oh, I thought you were doing something else.
You're rapping, so I was just stick tap, doing a stick tap.
Kyle was making some hand gestures
Yeah.
over there, and I wasn't exactly sure what he was
off
doing
camera
with his hands.
Yeah, exactly.
It looked
so
like he was
doing something.
with
He was
his
stick
long
tapping.
stick.
Yeah, he was shoveling.
Shoveling. And that's it.
All right.
Yep, we're good.
The Stick Tap of the Week, sponsored by Eric Murray Real Estate with the Remax Avante team. If you're looking to buy or sell a home in the greater Moncton or surrounding area, make sure to check him out on social media or give him a call at 506-863-8802.
I have another honorable stick tap again. The Wildcats participated in a Make-A-Wish reveal for a kid today. Liam, I don't have his last name.
Is it Emery?
Liam Emery, yeah, I think. His wish was to attend an NHL game and meet his favorite players. Because of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, they granted his wish. He will travel to Toronto to attend the NHL All-Star Game. He's a very proud Wildcats fan, kept up to date with all the games. At the age of 7, he was diagnosed with T-cell acute lymphoblastic leukemia. He is in remission, but that was not the end of his battles. He would go in under 3 years of chemotherapy He was hospitalized in Christmas of 2021 with a life-threatening infection. As a result, he lost sight in his right eye. He was hospitalized for 230 days in his hospital stay. His strong will to get back on the ice to play hockey, he was able to join his friends in the 2022-2023 season. He still has 4 chemo treatments until November 2024, but he manages to return to a normal life, including playing his favorite sport, which is hockey. He was at the Wildcats game, and once I saw the pictures that Richie had on his Facebook, and then the Wildcats shared it, I was like, I did see that kid walking around with Richie.
He was the Hockey Fights Cancer game. He was the one that was honored at Center Ice.
Okay. So stick tap to Rich Thibault, Michelle Beliveau, and the Moncton Wildcats, and Make-A-Wish Foundation for allowing this kid to live out his dream of going to see the NHL, and he's going to see the world's ugliest jerseys in the NHL All-Star Game. That brings us to the Wildcat of the Week, presented by Rosemary Lynn Massage and Spa. Today is the final day for a flash sale with Micah. Book a shellac pedicure and get a shellac manicure. Don't know what those are. For only $10. Don't forget they have a loyalty card. When you perk 9 services, you get 1 free. Take advantage. Call 506-830-1224 or book in person at 1224 Mountain Road. Another week, another accolade for the MCL line. To be honest, they're one of the best lines in the queue right now. They've been one of the best lines all season. It's why I have no doubts on this team with the top 6 against just about anybody in the league. This time, he had some key points for us on the weekend. He had the assist on the first goal Saturday, and then he had the goal to kind of get the building energized again against Halifax. He had a goal, 2 assists on the weekend. The Wildcat of the Week is number 20, Preston Lounsbury. You didn't do the Burger Fest again, but we did go have the Burger Fest burger at Route 6. So you got to give your, I don't want to say props to it, but you got to give your feedback on the Route 6 burger.
So in terms of the if you go over the list of all the burgers, this had to be probably the more the biggest heart attack on a bun.
Yeah.
This thing had, obviously the burger had bacon, it had a bratwurst sausage on it, it had like sliced up steak on it,
chicken
wing on it, fried dill pickle on it. It had everything. I was disappointed. I was expecting more, expecting better. And all I got was a cold chicken wing, a cold deep fried pickle, and a cold burger.
Yeah.
So I was, it felt like it had been sitting out for 10 minutes. Felt like they had a bunch of burgers already pre-made, and they were just flinging them out to the tables as they were ordered them. I was hoping for something a little more fresh. The overall look of the burger was nice. I enjoyed the look of the burger. But probably a 6.5 out of 10.
Have you tried any others since?
No, I have not.
Since then,
I do want to get the Sports Rock one with the bun, the donuts in the middle there, and
Halo donuts.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to get that one eventually, and I know that I've heard a lot of good things about the Chris Rock burger. So those are kind of my two. Those are the 2 on my list. I got to get those done before the 20. I think it's over the 28th.
28th, yeah.
Yeah, so plenty of time.
Couple weeks, and like we had talked about before we decided on where to go, I'm picky and eat like a 9-year-old, so it's going to be very tough for me to eat any of these burgers. But yeah, the Wildcats are on the road for the next 4 games, but the Wildcats the QMJHL Kubota Top Prospects game is next week on Wednesday. Tickets are going fast. So if you want to get them, you might want to get them now. But yeah, that's it. Wildcats are back January 28th against Sherbrooke. So for Jeremy, I'm Adam. See you next week.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Wildcast podcast. Follow us on social media at Moncton Wildcast.